The United States has evacuated some 120,000 people from Afghanistan in recent weeks, many of them Afghan nationals. The majority are hoping to end up in the U.S., but for now, some have ended up in the Balkans. Hundreds of evacuees found themselves flying from Kabul to places such as Kosovo, North Macedonia, and Albania. The Biden administration has asked those countries to host asylum seekers while their visas are being processed. A plane carrying 150 Afghans arrived in Albania early on Monday. The new arrivals brought the total number of Afghan evacuees in the Balkan country to just over 600. Let's bring in DW's Fani Fachar here, who joins us from the Albanian capital, Tirana. Good to see you, Fani. Albania, it's agreed to take in 4,000 refugees, I understand, or evacuees at least, but only temporarily. What's the story there?
Well, that's exactly the question that a lot of people, ordinary Albanians, ask what that word temporarily actually means. Officially, it means that as long as the people who are arriving from Afghanistan, either via Doha, via the UAE, or who came directly from Kabul, are going to be vetted. At least this process is going to take 1 year until everything is clear that they really deserve to say so to receive a U.S. visa, but that they really qualify for a United States visa to then move on to the United States. But there's skepticism here in Albania among some who say, is this really the time to trust the United States, given the chaotic way, they say, the way the U.S. has left Afghanistan after 2 decades of war? So there are a lot of questions as far as this process is concerned, the vetting process, and how long this actually is going to take, and also what is going to happen to those Afghan refugees who do not qualify for a U.S. visa and are basically going to be stranded there, here in Albania.
Now, I understand you've been talking to some of those Afghan evacuees yourself. They're in Tirana. What have they been telling you?
Well, they were basically researching themselves where Albania is located prior to their arrival. In fact, we have spoken to one Afghan refugee, and it's quite difficult to speak to Afghan refugees here because they're shielded by police, from the press, from media, officially saying because of COVID, but also because they just arrived, obviously, from Afghanistan, so they're really protected. This one Afghan refugee we have spoken to in particular said once he realized Albania is a safe country compared to Afghanistan, at least, he told his family, let's go. This is the plane we should take and go to Tirana, to the capital city. But he also made clear that his hope is that he's going to move on to the United States very soon. In fact, to him, that word temporarily means a couple of days here in Albania, or maximum a couple of weeks. Let's have a look at our report.
The Albanian coastline of Durrës. Tourists are wrapping up their summer holidays. Some hotels have opened up for refugees from Afghanistan. For the children, moments of joy in a country unknown to them. Others are housed in college dorms like this one in Albania's capital, Tirana.
3rd floor.
The 3rd floor?
Yes, yes.
Khabik Sadiq arrived on Monday.
Yes. I searched firstly this in internet, that where is it located, which countries are its neighbors. After that, I tell all them, my family member, that Albania is very good country.
The 22-year-old was able to leave the chaos of Afghanistan behind with his family of 10. Albania is a NATO member and didn't hesitate to agree to the US request to host Afghan refugees. Street signs named after US presidents here underline the role of the United States as a patron of stability in the Balkans.
This street, for example, has been renamed after Donald Trump. Now, the U.S., as a partner towards progress, is deeply ingrained in people's minds here, regardless of whether any actual headway is being made or not.
Albania is struggling to make the case to its own citizens. They are split over the issue of accepting Afghan refugees.
We have an economy where people are begging. We have to search for bread in the trash, you know?
They are humans like everyone else, and Albanians were once refugees, so we have to support them.
Currying favor with the US may help Albania, a non-EU member, to tighten its relationship with the West. But security researcher Alban Dafa says the government's lack of transparency about their deal with America will fuel animosity towards Afghans.
Albania can handle temporarily hosting Afghan citizens. What to do and how to best accommodate the needs of those potential refugees that are going to be stranded in Albania.
Khanbik Sadiq is hopeful that he will be able to go to the United States soon. After all, this is what everyone is being promised here.
They must carry us to other country that is US.
That's a hope everyone here seems to share, to leave this place and go to America. But it's unclear when or who will make it. The vetting process for the US can take a year or more.
Now, obviously, Albanians themselves here are asking, why is Albania taking in Afghan refugees, given the very own volatile situation in this country when you look at its economy, but also when you look at its political instability. You just need to look back at the current election this spring, the way it played out. For the third time, the Rama government won, but the turmoil that was revolving around that election clearly tells you Albania is a quite unstable country within this region itself. Now, the US, of course, is seen here as a guarantor of stability. We have heard it also in the report. If you look back at its history of force and animosity here in this region, the question, though, is what is Albania then is hoping to gain from all of this? Now, various analysts are discussing this very question as more Afghan refugees are arriving. Around 600 are already here. About 4,000 are expected, not only here in Albania, but also in the neighboring countries, Kosovo and North Macedonia. If you ask me personally, Albania also wants to stand for some good news, that they are actually helping people while the EU is discussing how to deal with Afghan refugees and how to best keep actually refugees per se out of the European Union, specifically right now Afghan refugees. So Albania wants to matter again also on the international stage. But then the question really is whether that political hope that is not officially discussed here, but is unofficially between the lines, whether this country is going to achieve to, in a way, start accession talks with the EU and have a closer relationship with the West.
Okay, so the evacuees from Afghanistan are in Albania through a deal with the US. Fine, but what about the people in Albania itself? How do they view this action?
Albanians traditionally, if you look at the Kosovo War 2 decades ago, more than 500,000 people have been sheltered here in Albania. Albanians are traditionally very welcoming when it comes to helping any foreigner, in fact. But when it comes to this situation right now, they ask various questions. Is it really the time to trust to the United States, as I've elaborated earlier, but also what is going to happen to those who are going to be stranded here? So a lot of Albanians, regardless whether they're actually welcoming or not, are saying the government here is not sharing enough information. It is not transparent enough about this exact deal and the details of this deal between the United States and Albania.
Fani, thank you very much. That was our correspondent Fani Pachar there in Tirana.